All right, everybody, welcome back to the Two Dads Review. We are here reviewing for you this week. A little bit later this week, we're reviewing Tomb Raider. My name's Clay. I'm one of the two dads, and on the other side of the mic
is your hype man, Sloth Bear. What's up, everybody? How's it going?
I so want to restart this already. Oh man, if
I got 2 5-hour energies in me, man. I got a kid that's entertained in Roblox right now, dude. I am one just pent up ball of energy waiting to do something.
Right, you're waiting for something to come through that door and be like, "Dad, let's go do this."
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's basically more. It's more. I'm like, I'm on the edge of my seat waiting to hear dead silence and know something's wrong, so I can full blown sprint out of here.
Right, like yeah. We'll just pause this. You'll never know what happened. He'll just run. He'll be at the hospital and back before you even know it on this podcast. So.
Yeah, you won't miss any part of the show. Don't worry.
You won't miss any of it. So if you're finding us for the first time, as you can tell by our title, we're just a couple of dads who like to review some movies for you guys, some TV shows, maybe talk some video games, some other nerd stuff. And never does our podcast come out on the same day ever. So that's a guarantee I can give to you myself. We are never like, every Tuesday you'll get a new... No, you just subscribe. If you like us, subscribe, and it'll tell you when the new podcast comes out.
The only thing we're consistent on is... for the number of weeks we've tried to record, we've put out an episode. Now, we're not saying it made it out that week. There may have been 2 back-to-backs, but we've been consistent with getting them done weekly.
Right. We have a weekly schedule. Whether or not the one comes out that week, we don't know. So this one will hopefully come out this Sunday. We're recording on Sunday, so we're literally hitting the end of it. Hopefully I can get it edited and out this week, but if not, it'll be out Monday. And then coming up for you guys next week will be our review of Pacific Rim Uprising. That's the one that hit the theaters a couple days ago. So excited about seeing that. We didn't hit a stinker this week, Corey.
No, we didn't hit a home run, but we had a solid single. Got the game moving.
Yeah, got us feeling good again because we've not been batting 1,000 here whatsoever. I don't know why we're doing all these sports terms.
No, yeah, dude. If we would have hit a trifecta there of just plotless movies, I'd have been like, I'm not seeing another fucking film the rest of this year. This year's done for me, man. I can't do it until Avengers comes out. Now I'll just skip Infinity War because it would probably somehow
suck,
ruin movies for me permanently at the streak we were going, man.
Yeah, we were not doing well. We had if you're just finding us, our last couple podcasts were A Wrinkle in Time and Death Wish, and both of those we do not. I recommend you listen to the podcast. I do not recommend you go see those movies.
Very true. Very true.
Before we jump into our discussion on Tomb Raider, let me hit a couple of points. As always, you can find us at twodadsreview.com. That's the word 2, not the number 2. From there, you can listen to all of our past episodes, up to and including this brand new one. It also gives you links to all the great places you can listen, not on the website, which is our Audio Boom site. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Radio Public. And you can also go over to the Two Dads Reviews YouTube channel and listen to us there. That's it. If you like us, there's a link to our Patreon. Feel free to support. We'll give you a shout out. And there's also a link to the official Two Dads Review t-shirt. Yeah, that's the main administrative stuff. If you are in the DC area, which is where we all live currently, both of us, we are planning on hitting AwesomeCon this coming weekend, which is Easter weekend, up in DC. It's a pretty cool little, actually it's not little, it's massive, and I went to it about 3 years ago. Corey, you've never been, right?
No, never been.
It's not Comic-Con. It's not big like Comic-Con, but it's definitely, they've taken some time and put some effort into it. And there's some decent names coming this time. John Boyega from Star Wars and from Pacific Rim Uprising is going to be there this coming weekend. A couple of people from Star Trek, a couple of people from some of the CW shows, like the entire Boy Meets World cast except Topanga, which I don't care about anybody there. I was like, oh shit,
you
Boy Meets
don't
World.
care about Corey number 2?
Nope. I was like, oh, Boy Meets World. Like, no Topanga. Nope, not doing that. Don't care. Don't even care anybody. I never watched the show. Just knew who Topanga was at my, the ripe old age of 38 that I am. So
yeah, there you go.
Anyways, so we're gonna be up there. I'm probably gonna be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I don't think I'm gonna be able to drag Corey away for that entire time. I think I'm taking the kids and everybody on Sunday, so it's gonna be pretty wild.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out when the best time was to go, and like if it's just easier for me just to wrangle the whole family and go.
Sunday is Easter Sunday, so there's going to be the Easter Bunny's going to be there. There's going to be Easter egg hunt where you can find a gold. Every kid you can have one gold egg. You can find 5 total, but one gold egg, and it gives you discounts or gives you a prize or something. And there's a BB-8 meetup there's one on Friday and then one on Sunday too. So I went like 3 years ago, and their idea of a kids section was like a bunch of picnic tables and like coloring stuff. And I was like, okay, so now that's 5 minutes. Now what the fuck are we going to do with kids for the next 4 hours that mommy and daddy want to go through all this stuff? Well, now there's all kinds of like kid-focused activities. And they actually have an Awesome Con Junior section that's like sectioned off for the kids to go do stuff in. So
that's cool.
I give them credit for that because for a while there, I went there, my oldest was like 4 and my youngest was like 1.5. And so we got there, we're like, well, we paid for a weekend pass and there's nothing for kids at all, so we're just going to go. We walked around and it's cool. There's a lot of artists there. There's a lot of people selling their, comic art wares type stuff. They just, everything from clothing to images to comics, everything's there. So it's pretty wild. It's a pretty good time.
Yeah, because I think Mouse went to some kind of like horror convention one time, and she was like, said that was real fun. Her and her sister had like a really good time at that. And then like they went to the after party and partied with like all the fucking famous people and shit like that. I was like, man, that's the only part I'm jealous of. Is just like being in a strobe light environment or something like,
with famous people.
Because like, she was showing me the pictures and I was like, and of course it's all horror themed, and I was like, I just wanted to talk to somebody famous while they're getting shitty, man. Like that is like a dream of mine.
Well, there is after party type stuff that happens. I think Friday night or Saturday night. I don't know who shows up to it, but there is some evening events outside of the con itself. So anyway, so that's we're planning on being up there. We talked a few months ago about going in like some sort of outfits or something, but I did not have the time to get stuff together, so it's just not happening.
Yeah, no, and let's face it, man, like we don't look like anybody else. Like it's good or as bad as that could be. I don't know. But it's not like I can throw some makeup on and look like the Joker or whatever. I got like a round face, man, and like chipmunk cheeks, dude. Like I'm not cutting any jaw lines or anything.
Right, no one's mistaking me for Henry Cavill.
Yeah, right. Like, and I don't have enough muscle on me anywhere to go in anything. So unless it's a mask, I don't have many options.
Your skinny ass could do like Spider-Man, and that's about it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and there we go. That's about it. Just fucking Peter Parker, but only as Spider-Man though. Like, I would have to be Spider-Man.
Right. So we're gonna hit Awesome Con this week, and it'll be a fun time. We'll definitely give a report. Tell you how it went on the next podcast. So it may be a little bit longer than normal because we'll have some stuff to talk about from Awesome Con. So tune in next week for that stuff. So yeah, actually, I guess that would be next. And we may get to I don't know. It may not be the next podcast considering we're gonna be seeing Pacific Rim here in like a day or two, and then hopefully recording this coming week. So probably 2 podcasts from now we'll be talking about Awesome Con. So.
Yeah, it'll probably be called the Awesome Con podcast.
Maybe. Well, Awesome Con plus whatever movie we're watching that week. Sorry.
You think? You don't think we'll have enough just to ramble on about it? About Awesome Con?
I'm sure we will. We can. If you want to, I can probably cut it into 2. We'll see. Just stay tuned. Subscribe. You'll see what we put out. I can't tell you what we're going to do because we haven't done it yet. And it's not like I planned this stuff real well. You're lucky there's even calendar notices saying what movies we're going to see next.
Yeah, and I love how those always come in like groups of like 30.
Yeah, because I don't go...
Like, it's not like a calendar notice and then like, hey, you get another one. It's like, Yo, dude, I went ahead and planned out the next fucking 17 weeks.
Right.
Here you go.
Because this is our hobby, dude. We don't get anything. This is just something fun we love to do. So one night when I'm like, hey, my wife's crafted or whatever, I'm sitting down behind the computer and I'm going to just pound out whatever movies have come out this week, and this is what we're going to do, and I'll pound it out for like the next 4 months. We know all the release dates, unless they mess with me and change a release date like they did in Infinity Wars. Because I think I had Infinity Wars on there, and now I got to switch shit around because they changed the release date on me.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
They backed it up. I don't know if I changed it yet. I need to go check that. Thanks. Now I got something to do tonight, Corey. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So that's what's going on around with us. That's what we're going to be doing here in the future. We hope you guys like what you hear. We hope you stay tuned. And without further ado, Tomb Raider, the reboot or origin or retelling or however you want to put it, but it's based, this one's more based off the newer video games that have come out with the younger Lara Croft, and she's just establishing herself as as the adventure explorer that she is, that we know from the older movies with Angelina Jolie.
That badass alpha dominant female that she is, because at the beginning of this, it's like weird. You can tell she's cocky, but she's like trying to be like not, like
right.
Like you can tell that under her personality of being like, oh, hey, I'm just a street rat kind of thing. Like, you're like, nah, man, we all know, like, you're not hiding it well. Like, you're special. We get it.
We get it. Some reason, yeah. So this movie was directed by a Norwegian. In fact, the lead character, Alicia Vikander. Did you want to say her name correctly because she's Swedish?
I think you would just say Vikander. Like,
just the best part is like she's also. So, side note, do you know she's married to Michael Fassbender?
Yes,
I know that now because I googled her while I was.
The only reason I know that is because I googled her after the movie immediately.
Yeah,
and then I was like, oh, cool, she's Swedish. So then she got my interest since I'm learning Swedish, and then I saw that she was married to the old Magneto,
right.
And I was like, holy shit, that's fucking cool. Like, how cool is it to be married to someone that cool? Like, you're just immediately cooler.
Right. Michael is cooler for being married to her because she's a badass and she's a fantastic actress.
Yeah,
right?
like how does that one work out? Because someone usually settles.
Right.
Like, you and I can both go, yo, dude, we went up.
Yeah, we married up.
We went up. Like, we went up in the exchange. Like, I'm okay with that. But I don't know who would, like, what is it like to have a level playing field on beauty and awesomeness? Yeah,
right. She also is an Oscar winner. Did you know that?
Did not know that.
She won an Oscar for Best Performance by an Actress in a Supporting Role for The Danish Girl back in 2015. Just so you know.
Wow.
Because I watched when we got back for the movie, I watched a couple of interviews with the cast, just kind of try to get some inside information, and she was joking about having an Oscar, and I was like, well, dang, let me see what she's got. I was like, okay, I never see that movie. It's like I never watch any of the Oscar movies half the time.
Never even heard of it, man. Not even gonna lie.
But she did. But back to this, all started with the director. The director is a Norwegian director, and he hasn't done a lot of stuff that you would recognize. But there is one movie that I'm going to search out because I don't care if it's. I usually don't watch things with subtitles a lot. For instance, I have still not seen Pan's Labyrinth because I just don't want to read the entire movie. But this one it's Norwegian, and it's called The Wave. And it's based on this little town that's in Norway that is near this cliff structure that has this fjord or chasm or whatever that at some point, it's happened back like in the early 1912. At some point, all of this rock is going to slough off into the water, and that is going to create an 85-foot tidal wave that's going to destroy the town that is currently at the back end of this area where it's almost like not a gulf. It's too small for a gulf, but like a little inlet where this town is at.
Yeah, kind of like a little seaport.
Yeah. So it's going to happen. Like it's not like it's so. This is a disaster movie. And it's one of those things like when that rock drops, the town knows it has 10 minutes to evacuate. Like when the alarms go, get your shit, you got 10 minutes to get up the hill.
Oh, damn, that's crazy.
And so this movie is it's a disaster flick based on that scenario. So it shows it happening, but it's of course not happened yet, but the cool thing is this is going to happen. This is not like, Geostorm or some futuristic shit or, asteroid or whatever. This is something that's going to happen.
This isn't like, given on the right circumstances, when the stars align on the 0.001% chance that the Earth tilts this way because the fucking wind blows, right? Like, this is like, nah, dude, we're just waiting.
Right, we decided to rebuild this town right here, even though this shit's gonna happen again.
We're all basically gonna see who's got the biggest set of nuts to leave at the latest possible mark in this 10 minutes.
Right, so I looked at the trailer. It's got really good reviews online, so I'm going to go watch it this week at some point. I think it looks really good, so just letting you know, this director is, he's not just coming out of nowhere. So, and I didn't think he did a bad job in this movie, in Tomb Raider either. Let me put it this way, this movie is not going to change your life. It's not like the greatest thing I've ever seen on TV, but it's a good, solid origin, and it does I felt, at least for me, that it kind of fell into what you have to with origin stories, which is a lot of people telling stories like of the past and exposition and kind of getting us set up to the world we're about to be brought into for probably 2 or 3 more movies.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that like people forget when it comes to these kind of origin get-goes is like, yeah, it's a Tomb Raider movie, but we got to go see the struggle the person's through first. So you're not going to have a lot of Tomb Raidering like going on.
You mean
yeah, dude, I don't think I can say that. You mean like I don't think I can go right ahead. Go right ahead.
You mean like somebody douchely tweeting during a movie, "Hey, there's not a lot of tombs or not a lot of raiding happening in the first 2/3 of this movie."
Yeah, because it was at that point I was going, you got to start fucking raiding, man. Like, I'm looking at the time and I know how long this movie is. Like, if you don't start immediately, which luckily they did, because I immediately retweeted basically like, my bad Tomb Raider for being a dick on that. But they were hitting, when that tweet came out, they were hitting the limit of, you're not going to give me enough raidering now here. Like, if you don't hurry the fuck up. So
right. Would you have felt better if they had given you like a shot of her entering the tomb with everybody and then gone 18 months earlier or whatever? Would you have felt better if it was like Indiana Jones where it starts in the tomb and then, would you have been better with that?
Yeah, I would always feel better with
Just
that.
start me with the tomb. Start me with a little bit of action.
Well, with any action film, like, I don't ever want it to start slow. The first 5 minutes, this should be some dude getting like his like gizzard ripped out and like uppercutted to the moon and then just like total cutscene, go right back to the very beginning of him like waking up out of the bed, and you go, oh, fuck that, dude. I don't get to see. No, like, that's how I want to be left. And then I'm anxious to get back to that point the whole time.
Right. But then half the time you're not paying attention to the exposition because you're like, can we just get back to when he's in the tomb? So we can never
we're
like
it's
every
better
other
than me. It's better than me going, and then checking out right from the get-go because I'm like, oh, great. I get to find out that her daddy left her or some shit, like.
Well, I present to you the fact that maybe you got bored at the exact time when they jumped to raiding tombs, so maybe they did it perfectly for you because you were anxious to get to it, and at the point where you're about to give up, boom, we're in a tomb and you're good to go, right?
Yeah, that is true, dude. I mean, they threw me a life raft. They're like, hey, man, we see you. We saw you out there struggling. Thanks for making it.
Right. So you go. To the director, to his name is Roar Uthog, by the way. Roar as in ROAR. I was like, what a badass name.
Nice.
Well done, sir. Pretty decent movie. There's a lot of nods to the video game itself. Like, there was parts of this thing. Like, I've played a little bit of the Tomb Raider game, the newer ones, and even just by playing adventure style games, I could recognize like when he was giving the nod to the video game. Like, there's literally the whole scene with the tiptoeing across the breaking plane and like the running out of a hallway that's crumbling behind her. That's all, like, every adventure video game ever has that, like, you're always looking at your face, so you never can move the controller right the first time. So it's
right, where you're like everything gets flipped backwards.
Right, and now I can't.
Wait a minute, up is down, down is up. What the hell's going on? This giant rock's chasing me. Holy shit!
Exactly. So there's a lot of nods, but I didn't feel like there was so much that it was. You didn't have to play the game to enjoy the movie either. Just knowing who Lara Croft is from the past stuff, it was good to start. It was a good story and encapsulated itself well without knowing anything about anything, which works for me.
Yeah, and plus Tomb Raider at this point is a big enough of its own franchise in that like you don't have to play the games because then you probably saw Angelina Jolie's versions of them, or you played the game and you totally skipped those versions of the movie. You're like, right. Oh, I'm not doing that. But it's kind of like saying Tomb Raider is like saying Indiana Jones at this point. Like I'm not saying they're on the same level, but you would literally have to have been under a rock for the past
20
years to not know what Tomb Raider is.
Agreed completely. So this stars, as we said earlier, Alicia Vikander, Dominic West. If you don't know who he is by me just saying his name, when you see him, you'll go, "Oh yeah, that guy who's been in like everything." Plays her dad.
Yeah, you'll go that guy with the mouth.
Yes, you will.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure those tomb paintings weren't of some lady. I'm pretty sure they were just really bad paintings of his mouth. It was there was some. He does have a mouth. Thanks for drawing that attention to me.
Hey, I'm just saying, man, like, you pointed out Nicole Kidman's weird alien hands.
I tweeted about it. I finally remembered to do it, too, and I wasn't lying, was I?
And that's like finding out how Tom Cruise's teeth are right in the middle of his head. Like, you know that, right?
That his front tooth is in the middle? One of his right or left front teeth is directly in the middle of his face?
Directly in the middle of his face.
Yeah.
He's complete, like, almost too symmetrical. You know, like...
Well, yeah. And other folks in the movie, Daniel Wu plays a guy by the name of Lee Ren, and if you're not watching Into the Badlands on TV, watch that show. It is awesome. He is in it, and it was nice to see this guy return to the big screen because he's been killing it on the small screen the past couple seasons. Into the Badlands is it's a post-apocalyptic show where there's no more tech, there's no more guns. Everything that's anything is in plantations. So people who are leaders of the regions live in like it looks like an old school plantation homes, and everybody fights with swords. It's kind of an agreed upon thing because there's still like engines and gas, but there's no weapons. There's just swords. And
gotcha. And
it's like it's got like a little bit of wire fighting in it, so it's based realistically, but also has that wire fight element to it. So people are doing crazy shit, and it's a pretty wild. There is some supernatural type stuff that comes into play in the plot as well. But Into the Badlands, if you have not seen it, look it up. I want to say it's on Sci-Fi, but that's completely wrong. So I don't know. Maybe when Corey goes on a long
AMC probably,
huh?
AMC.
I think
probably.
It is AMC. I think you're right. Yeah, it is AMC. That's right.
Sounds like an AMC show where it's like, we're gonna walk the line of being borderline HBO territory.
Yeah, and it is definitely like, it is almost as bloody as Spartacus was back on Starz back in the day.
Yeah, I watched one episode of it, and then I quit paying for cable. Yeah, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. So yeah, I've heard great things about the first season.
Yeah, it's got 2 seasons out now. First one was definitely stronger because it was building it. Second one's kind of, I feel like I'm ready to go for the third. Like I need the third to get me back. And there's a lot of stuff thrown at me in the second, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, I always feel like it's the third or the fourth season that always like really like either hook, line, and sinkers you, or you go, nah, this one will fall by the wayside.
That's exactly.
You know, like as soon as something better comes along, I'll catch up with you when I catch up with you.
Right, exactly. And I would say it's probably true for this one, that it definitely, the first season hooked you because it was different. The second season, they kind of took their liberties with setting up a whole bunch of different plot stuff, and then a few things came to resolve, but not really.
Well, season 2 is always that gamble, right? Like season 2, you're either going, okay, man, we did it. We nailed it with season 1. They've already greenlit us for 3, so like we can write the story. Mm-hmm. Like we can build the plot. So season 2, is either written in a way, knowing that you're gonna knowing or banking that you're gonna have 3 or 4 more seasons to write, and season 2 can also be the one that's like completely like, oh my God, we're over. We got to write this thing so that if we do get shut off, we kind of summed it up.
So last on our list of people there's really only 4 people in this movie, which is nice because it saves on their budget, which we'll get to here in a second. But last, and personally one of my favorite actors in television and movies right now, Mr. Walton Goggins plays the big bad of the show, of the movie, and I could watch him in anything. I've seen him all the way back in like Sons of Anarchy. He was in that on a very, very small side part where he played a transsexual prostitute.
Yeah, that's right. I think like out of all the episodes I caught, that was like the one that I did catch because I loved him in Justified.
Yeah, because you have a huge hard-on for Justified. I know you do.
Dude, I love Justified. And Timothy Oliphant and Walter Goggins are a dream. They are amazing in that show. And so, yeah, dude, pretty much anything with him in it, like, I was like, I get all excited for it. And I was like, oh, and I just saw the clip of his face. And I was like, what's going on in this episode? And then, like, I started watching and I was like, he's got boobs. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Get it.
Yeah, he's pretty. He comes in later on in the later seasons, and he's awesome in that show. He's also currently, I'm pretty sure they renewed it for season 2. He's in a show called 6, which is it's a SEAL team spec ops tactical type show, and he plays a real messed up character. I wouldn't call him quite the lead, but there's a couple focusing plot areas, but he's definitely on it a lot, and he's pretty awesome in it because he's pretty awesome in everything he does. So
yeah, he's also was in. Oh man, now I gotta look it up because now it's gonna bother me.
Assistant
Principals, I think is what it was called.
Oh yeah, the one with wow, it's not like we deal with this stuff very often.
Wow, why can't I remember his name?
Vice
either?
Principals, and it's Danny McBride.
Danny McBride. There we go.
Yeah,
yes.
you're right. I should be watching that show, but I don't. But there's only 18 episodes, so I probably should just pick that up and watch it. So yeah, so we're pretty much in love with Walton Goggins too. So and he does a great bad guy. Is he a bad guy in Justified, or is he?
Yeah, but he's like I would call him more of like the anti-hero because it's like he's a bad guy and then kind of like midway through it he's still a bad guy but he's like trying to be good, right? But then you just know like he's going to be bad. Like, right? But like you still love him though. Like you still like you're like I mean yeah, it's cool that it's not cool that you're bad. But I respect why you're bad. Like I understand the reason you're bad.
not far off from this movie too.
Yeah.
This movie he was a piece of shit, but he was trying to get home to his family because the bad people he works for is like, you're on this island until you find what we're looking for, and then we'll come get you. Yeah,
and probably somewhere along those lines were uttered, we will kill your family if you try to leave, kind of thing.
Right.
Like,
so he's been on that island for 7 years. So okay, real quick before we get to the plot, because it's a pretty good. The plot is really nice. It was easy for me to write down. I broke it into 3 acts. I'm good to go. This movie, it's fantastic. But so Rotten Tomatoes has this currently at a 50% critic score and a 65% audience score, which I don't disagree with that. Like I said, it's not going to change your world. It's not getting any Oscar nods. Even the CG had some decent times. There's not even getting any good editing. It's just a good movie. It's just good. It's not like the greatest thing I've ever seen. Yeah, no,
I would say like if you're gonna do like bad, okay, good scale, like it's okay. Like you're not like you shouldn't be disappointed with seeing the movie, but you also are not going to walk out of there like having your socks blown off, Yeah,
you're not going to go back again the next weekend to watch it again in the theaters.
No, or you probably won't ever buy it either. Like if you saw it in the theater, like I don't think you would buy it on Blu-ray.
Right, you'll probably just wait till you see it on HBO and then watch it. Hey, this is a great one to watch too while it's,
Yeah, like honestly, this is like a perfect like TBS movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like one of those that comes on at Thanksgiving or something like that. Like that's just kind of always around the holidays, and you're like, oh man, Tomb Raider's on, sweet.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Metacritic has it at a 48. IMDb has it at a 6.8, and the cinema score is a B. So it's an all around okay movie, and it was okay. It had some good parts, it had some okay parts, and it had some parts that were like, were you guys even really trying? Most of that's on the CG though.
Yeah, the CG, and I like, it does some weird stuff.
Well, we were talking on the drive home from watching the movie, and I was like, I felt like there was some stuff that was CG'd really, really well, and then there were other parts where it's like, is it even the same people working on the stuff, or did you not have the time because it just looked horrible? So I don't know. They did some really fun things with CG, and then some that sucked.
Yeah, and I also think they just like, I think sometimes when you get into like stuff that looks like it's like shitty CGI is like this, it's not the small little details. It's like when they just CGI something that really doesn't need to be CGI'd, you're like, why did you CGI another 8 hairs of fabric? Or you know what I'm saying? Like, you're like,
right.
Just unnecessary stuff. And like, it's just utterly so noticeable. It's like, dude, no matter the processing power you had, like, you couldn't have put in enough detail to make that thing look like it was really floating or on top of their shoulder or something, right?
Exactly. Well, one of the ones that I had the biggest problem with is when she's being drugged down a rapids quickly towards her death, towards a waterfall. There's a part where her head that's way off in frame, way far away, turns the corner, and it looks like somebody just like copy pasted and then just let it kind of slip off out of frame. And it's like, you're already taking the shot. Just drop a friggin' floating head because she's really far away, and just let it go around the corner. And I'd have believed it was her because the rapids were so crazy. I was like, you didn't have to CG that in there. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, just stuff like that, like where they'll like even if the rapids were like class 5 rapids, right? And they're like, dude, those are insane rapids. They would CGI more water splashing around. And it's like, dude, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. Now the water looks fake. Right. Now the water looks fake, because those rapids weren't badass enough. You're like, oh, let's make those splashes an extra 4 feet. I didn't need that.
Exactly. So budget for this movie is reported at anywhere between 90 and 106 million, which is, it's not a huge movie, but it's not a small budget either.
But I also feel like that's like the standard number. Like if you get like a movie that gets any kind of like advertising, right? Because like Tomb Raider got advertising, they're like 90 to 120. Like that's like your intermediate number, and they're banking one of those out of that bet, and the 90 category is going to bring home, 180, 200, 300, 400 million, and they're like, yeah.
Well, they're sitting as of a few days ago at 166 million in the box office so far. So good for them. They've made a profit.
Mm-hmm.
Not a whole bunch, but they'll make it back. It's only the first weekend, so they're doing fine. I think a commercial I saw on TV said it was the #1 movie in America, so maybe it finally uprooted Black Panther last weekend, or this past weekend, whatever I'm trying to say. The opening weekend, it may have actually finally uprooted Black Panther as #1, which I could understand, because you know what didn't uproot Black Panther? Wrinkle in Time. Who also had a $100 million budget and made like 40 or 50 the weekend they premiered because it sucked. Go listen to the podcast.
Yeah, it was awful.
It's awful. All right, so let's, in normal Two Dads fashion, we'll step through the plot of the movie real quick. Not real quick, over the next who knows how long till the end of this podcast. So we talked earlier. We start out with Lara Croft is she's just kind of playing this. She starts out in the MMA fight. Like, she's in the middle of a ring sparring with this girl.
Yeah, so she's at a boxing gym.
Yeah, and so she's
sparring. Yeah,
she's sparring, and if it's not boxing, it's mixed martial arts though, because she's kicking and not just punching. It's not just boxing.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying she was at a boxing gym, like
right,
or a martial arts gym, whatever you want. She was at a gym in a ring.
She was in a ring. Someone. Right, she's in a ring, and she gets her ass handed to her.
And she gets fucking choked out.
Yeah, she's not only, yeah, and it's funny because this is all shot to bring up stuff in the future because you're like, oh, she gets choked out this time, so she's gonna have to overcome that hold more, again. But this movie, she had to overcome it like 4 fucking more times, like throughout the movie. I feel like everybody put her in a chokehold.
Yeah, and then she put a lot of people in a headlock.
Well, because she did have her headlock that she liked, and she does get to issue her own chokehold, but let's not spoil her that one yet, because I want to talk about that for like a good 10 minutes.
Okay.
We're do not spoil her that move.
But we can talk about how ineffective a headlock is, right? Like unless the person is just Shaquille O'Neal and you're a normal sized human being, like a headlock's not going to do anything to you.
Right, you know what a headlock is? It's the start of a belly to back suplex, which I'm going to lay on you.
I was literally about to say, dude, it's so many different ways could you just pick someone up and throw them. Like to use a headlock, you have to be a mountain of a human being.
Right, and she, while ripped and awesome, is 120 pounds. I think she says it when she crosses that thing and near the end of the movie. She's like, I'm only 120 pounds. Why am I going first?
Yeah,
I'm not telling you how sturdy this thing is.
Yeah, like. So, I don't know. Okay, enough of
that. So she the person she's sparring with puts her in a rear. I guess it's a sleeper or a rear naked. It's not a rear naked choke. It's more like a sleeper hold. Really, she wasn't cutting off her airway. She was doing a blood choke on her. So right before she passes out, her friends are like, "Will you please just tap for this girl puts you out completely?" And so she taps, and they're in the locker room changing. She's talking to her friend, having a little banter. Then the guy that runs the gym comes in and is like, "Hey, you haven't paid us for the last month or whatever," and she's like, "I'll get you the money, blah blah blah." So now we're like, oh, Lara Croft's poor. That's weird, because Lara Croft, I know from the past, is like rich as shit and lives in a mansion.
Yeah, even young Lara Croft was rich. So what happened?
And what did you do? Like, what are you trying to do to us? Yeah. So we also find out she's a bike courier. She delivers, like, it's kind of like what's the thing that everybody's getting sponsored by these days? With the bike, it's where you just order food and like someone goes and gets it and brings it to you. You have it mostly in big cities.
Yeah, well, she's she's a bike courier, but looks like she does mail courier for the city.
Right, but she was picking up food at that restaurant.
Yeah, I think she just brought that to the bicycle people.
Oh, was she just picking up? Well, I thought her whole pack was like an heat insulated pack.
Yeah, I don't think she was a courier for that restaurant. I think she just was one of those like, hey, we're friends, I do stuff, like picked it up and brought the food to the guys. Mm-hmm. But anywho, like, yeah, she's
not important.
Not really. Important, but semantics. But yeah, she's definitely. But the only reason I said it is she's like a city like courier crew, because I just couldn't imagine all the different bike courier guys for the restaurants, like all hanging out at one bicycle area. I mean,
right. Well, but like I said, there is services that do that these days, and I'm sure that in cities they're using bike, just a whole chunk of people on bikes. It's got to be, for all we know.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah.
HelloFresh, is that? No, that's the cooking box. I don't know. The people I watch on YouTube get sponsored by them all the time, and it's like you go on there, you pick the food from the restaurant you want, and then someone goes, gets it, and brings it to you for a charge, and you don't have to go anywhere. Trust me, I looked; it's not available in our area.
You know what's weird is, to me, does that just seem? I know it's no different than calling, say, Domino's, mm-hmm. but doesn't, for some reason, like when you think about that, like in the back of your head, you're like, man, I'm having a stranger. What if he fucks with my food? Already knowing that, like, the services that I already use is a stranger bringing me food, right? Like, it is literally no different, but for some reason in that scenario, that driver's bad. Where the it's because it's probably because he doesn't have a goddamn uniform. Like, in my head, they don't have a uniform. I don't know what their uniform is, so I can't trust them.
That's funny. No, but it's kind of like trying to explain slugging in Northern Virginia to anybody else and anywhere in the world.
That's true. Yeah, slugging is by far the coolest, scariest thing that Nova does that like no one else does.
Right. If you don't live in the Northern Virginia area and listen to this podcast, just look up what is slugging in DC. Just Google that, and you will wonder how the hell there is not something about murder rate in Northern Virginia other than,
normal murder rate.
Like car related, ride sharing related type stuff. Yeah, that's funny. So So she has no money. She works for a bike courier. She apparently needs money to pay for things that she hasn't paid for. So she overhears a couple of her bike friends talking about a fox hunt, which in the city is if you're the fox, you got foxes and hounds. You're the fox. You have a can of paint on the back of your bike, and they punch a hole in it, and then you get a few second head start. And if you don't get caught before your paint runs out, you get the prize money, and then whoever catches you before your paint runs out, they get the prize money. That's how the game works.
Yeah,
seems really dangerous.
One, yes, it seems very dangerous, and two, I feel like that paint, like they didn't punch a big enough hole in it, but like that paint can, because it was like a full gallon.
I feel like they punched too big of a hole, and it lasted way too long. Like it should have run out a lot sooner because he put like a good sized screwdriver in that thing.
Yeah, I'm just saying, paint's so thick, I just don't think it would have ran out that fast.
Right, exactly. Either give me a smaller hole with less of a drip, because when he hit it, it was just like, bleh, like what's gonna be out in 3 minutes? Like what?
Right. It was like, and then I'm sitting there going, and then in my head going, well, if that was like a normal hole, she would be writing for hours, before that paint can like
blub.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it would be like a little eyedropper just falling out no matter how fast she was going and whipping that thing around.
Right, and can we just talk about how much of a dick move in the city it is to just spray a can of paint across blocks and blocks of a city? Like, that's just a dick move, guys.
Yeah, like, graffiti's one thing, right? Like, you're gonna, like, at least you're trying to put in some kind of artistic effort. This was just like, dude, I'm just gonna make a big fucking mess. And that's it. That's all there was to it.
Well, I've actually seen this in the real world. But not with bikes and paint. They do it with runners and like bags of flour. So the fox has a bag of flour with a hole in it, and then the runners behind them are following and so when it rains, that flour washes away.
Yeah.
No harm, no foul. So this does actually happen in the real world. Runners, nothing that I would ever do in my life. Running is retarded. Sorry, I'm not doing it.
The only way I can run is if I'm chasing, and so I mean, I would have to be a hound in that situation, but then again, you're only getting like 3 blocks out of me at a decent pace, and I'm not. After that, I'll be like, I'm done.
Like, can I Uber and meet the guy where he's gonna run out of flour at? I'm gonna get him that
Where
way.
where was the final meetup, guys? I'll just meet you there. Fuck this.
Right.
Running's stupid.
So we get to see that she's fearless. This entire first section is only to show us that she's. It kind of gives us this. She's fearless. She does a lot of shit on that bike that it was like, I was like, okay, that's pretty crazy. You're almost dying. Good job. And then it.
Yeah, and then it's also to show that like she's something greater, because like I was saying earlier, how she's supposed to be poor or like living on her own, or whatever, but like at the same time you could just go like, you're either the really talented person that's just like not wanting to do anything, or you're like uber rich and you're trying to be poor, but yet you have on a $200 pair of like poor looking outfit, right? Like
you styled yourself that morning to look as poor as possible.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the most expensive poor outfit I've ever seen, right?
Right. So at the end of the race, she like literally smashes into a cop car to get arrested. And so the whole point of this first thing is to introduce us to her situation, because she gets bailed out by stranger lady in like a pantsuit, or looking all professional and rich and not like grubby whatever, and she calls her custodian, so we know that she was whoever had custody of her while her dad was gone. The lady's talking about needing her to sign some papers, and she's like, if I sign the papers, it means he's really dead. So we know that her dad is missing, and I think she may say 7 years at this point, but it's been 7 years since they saw him last. And, we kind of get her. This is the first chunk of exposition. We're like, okay, tell us the story we're supposed to know. So,
yeah, give us our flashbacks.
Right. So she goes home to ponder. I guess her home, like all we know is she's sitting on the top of a roof in the city, like thinking about whether she should go sign the papers.
I don't even remember that scene. I must have blinked.
Yeah, it wasn't for that long. So is this the point where she goes talk to the people behind the desk at the beginning of the entrance to the building, or is that later on?
Well, no, I think that's it, but it's like the next morning, You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes, the next morning.
Yeah. So yeah, but that's when she walks into the, her dad's
the
office.
lobby.
Yeah, the Croft offices where. Okay.
It literally says Croft behind him on the wall.
Yeah, and let's put it this way, man. Like, that whole dynamic with her dad and everything, like, I feel like everybody in there would know who Lara Croft is. Because, like, Papa Croft just disappeared off the face of the earth. Mm-hmm. Like, there would be newspaper, like, you would know exactly who she is. Like, you wouldn't be a guy that works at Croft and not know what she looks like.
Well, I mean, yeah, because she's only 21, probably, because she's definitely. We see her later on in a flashback when she's playing with the bow and arrow, and she's like 14. In fact, I think the script said 14-year-old Lara, and that's when he leaves, I think, for the last time. So she's 7 years. She's 21. So yeah, you would have seen her. You would think there would be some sort of articles about something. Yeah, so the whole, it's just a gag. She goes in and he's like, "Oh, courier's going around back." She's like, "No, I want to see so and so," and he's like, "No, and I'm the king of." He says something like, "I want $1 million, but I'm not going to get it, am I?" And he's like, "What's your name?" And she's like, "Lara, last name Croft." And then you get like the eyes.
Yeah, then you get his like slow look up and stare, and of course, like you can't help but laugh.
It was funny.
Yeah, like no, it was good. It was campy, but it was well done. Yeah, like I knew it was coming, but at the same time I was like, yeah, dude, this guy's gonna fucking get it.
Right. And something she's also gets mentioned when she's getting bailed out of jail is that the whole point of her signing these papers is that her dad has left her a trust, of course, and her dad was like stupid rich. And if she doesn't sign the papers, they're gonna sell off all of his estate if she doesn't claim the estate for herself.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point with like, please sign these papers. So she goes have the meeting. She goes and has the meeting with what I'm guessing is the lady who her custodian is like the lawyer of something, or at least like a C-level chief executive something, and then the lawyer. Oh, the guy's the lawyer.
Yeah, the guy's the lawyer, and she basically seems to be the number two at Croft, and who
right.
And but they paint the. I don't know if it's Croft Industries or whatever the hell the actual company is called, but it seems to be very family oriented. Like, because like the way Lara talks to her is like, I've known you since I was a kid. Like, you've always been around, but also at the same time, like, you haven't always been around because here I am being a bike courier and you're only caring about like me getting my dad's shit sold. Like, where were you when I like kind of like needed a hug?
Well, I think she was who was tasked to raise her after her father disappeared in the will. I'm guessing this lady, because she called her as her custodian. She's the one who had custody of her after her father disappeared.
Yeah, but also at the end of the movie, she's like, "I'll leave you to run the day to day like you have." Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think she's like the number two person would be in Croft, but she's also like a real close family friend. So that's why she was left, and that's why that was that
big reveal at the end. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like right as she's getting ready to sign the papers, the lawyer jumps the gun and gives her this puzzle box, pulls it out of the briefcase, and then Lara is like squirrel and like sees the puzzle box. Totally doesn't sign the papers, doesn't do anything she can do. She takes the puzzle box, she works it right there, and then pops out what was the hidden compartment. It has a picture of her and her dad, and then it says, I don't remember exactly, but it was like go to the first letter of my last resting place or something like that. It was something a little more cryptic than that, but what it really told me is that nothing that cool is going to happen to any of us when our dads die. I just want to put that out there. Like, there's going to be no cool button to go push to lead into a secret lair, damn it.
No, but I knew all that because none of my houses look like her house. Nothing I've ever lived in my life looked like that. So I've never even lived in a house that had the opportunity to have hidden rooms. So, and I'm not even gonna lie. I was an only child and spoiled rotten.
Right.
So like I've been pretty well taken care of my whole life, but at no point did I have like a pebblestone driveway and a fresh mini garden maze in the front of it or whatever that was.
Right. So it leads her to her father's, actually, it looks like a family tomb. And she pushes a button in the middle of the R on his name where his tomb is, where they're going to put his ashes when he's dead, or his body or whatever. And it opens up this floor. It opens up a hidden place underneath this tomb, and then down she finds a whole room of all of his research, all of this stuff, because he was portrayed to her as a child as just a businessman who made business deals, but she finds out that he's this big explorer and all this great stuff. And we get our second in a recent movie reviews we've done, second magic battery that is still working in a camcorder that we know is at least 7 years old.
Yes.
This, along with Annihilation, who had a 2-year-old camera battery still working perfectly. Yeah,
at least Annihilation, you were like, okay, they're in the weird sphere thing, so maybe batteries and electronics are longer lasting or work way different or something, because time's not time kind of thing. Right? In this was just flat out 7 years, man. That's the best fucking charge ever.
I just don't see how stuff like that gets past a movie script. At least have a cord that is coming out the back of it that is plugged into the wall somewhere. Just give me that.
Yeah, well, okay. I mean, since we're being nitpicky about batteries,
yes,
let's just talk about hidden chambers, right? I get it. You wanted to hide this thing, but you went and hid it basically in a family tomb.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if she's supposed to go into this thing all incognito, they're going to go dude, she just started. Why is she always hanging out in the crypts? Why? Because it wasn't like there was a whole bunch to do in there. Mm-hmm. It's just a bunch of dead things and a couple walls. I'm just going why wouldn't it be hidden in the house? Why would this dude walk all the way out there, go do, because he spent countless hours in there. You're telling me Laura at one point wasn't man, dude, Dad's really hanging out in Mom's grave a fucking lot.
A lot.
So I just little shit like that, which is very, very nitpicky, I understand, but I'm it just doesn't make any sense at all. Like a battery that could last 7 years, making it through the thing. I'm dude, no one thinks that through. No one goes, that seems a little ridiculous, right, guys? A little bit. I know we have a little leeway here, but doesn't that seem a little ridiculous?
Yeah, that guy was probably the new guy to the crew, and they were like, shut up. Go
or it was coffee. Probably that whole Ben Affleck, Armageddon scenario. Where he's wouldn't it, I think he told the director, he's wouldn't it be easier to teach astronauts how to drill? And since specifically, and he was just basically told to shut the fuck up. And he was just shut the fuck up.
I had heard that before, that's right. So in her dad's magic battery camera recording, it's if you're listening to this, I'm probably dead recording. And the first thing he tells her is to take all of his notes and things on the Himiko and burn them. Do not look, don't look at them. Don't take them anywhere. Don't give them to anybody. Burn them. Nobody can find this information. And she does none of that. She goes through all of this stuff. She determines that's the last place he went. She finds a picture of the boat that he chartered to get there. He has some recordings and stuff that she can listen to. She takes all of this with her, and Act 2 starts with her traveling to Hong Kong, going to find the boat that her father chartered to see if the guy who owns it knows where he is, what happened to him, where they went, things like that.
Yep, her mission begins.
We have gotten through the at least opening of who she is, and we're ready to rock and roll with the mission. So she gets to Hong Kong, and I worry about ever traveling there because every movie that ever depicts Hong Kong, there's just a bunch of asshole fucking teenage Asian boys who end up trying to steal your shit and running off.
Yeah, everything starts like fucking Double Dragon in Hong Kong. It's just someone gets kidnapped, purse stolen, something, and you gotta go get that shit back. It's just painting that city as a just very bad. Like every time Hong Kong comes up, you're right, dude. It is some type of like kidnapping or theft going on.
Yeah, I mean, I could, if I had time or the inclination, I could list off at least 24 movies that have that scenario where it's a group of teenage kids in Hong Kong who jump, beat, kill, murder, steal something of somebody's. Starting every movie off. It's at least 24 movies that do that I could think of if given enough time, which I'm not taking at this moment. So you can just like mark off every Steven Seagal film. Doesn't matter the location, right? Like, because you knew the guy that stole something from him was from Hong Kong, right? Like, every time, yeah. So there's a nice action scene chase. Where she gets it, she finally gets to the guy, tackles him. She pulls the. Is that when she has him in a headlock, or is that the very end? Is that in the middle of the fight? The middle of the fight when he drops the bag, and then the guy pulls. Yeah, the middle. On. Yeah, because because basically you have a whole nother Fox and Hound scene. Right. Like she's the hound, and then she catches him and gets the bag back, and then he pulls the knife out, flips the table, and she's running from them. But yeah, right. She was holding him in a headlock. And right, like, he could have just dumped her. I know he's a tiny Asian boy, but he still could have friggin' dumped her on her ass. Yeah, and you could always just slip your head out of a headlock. Like, yeah. But anywho, he was paralyzed from the neck down because he didn't move. Yeah, and he was stuck in this headlock. And then, like, she throws him back to his friends, which was, like, dumb. Like, why wouldn't you just throw him in the water? Be a little bit more of a dick about it. Right. You know? Steal your shit. Your dad, yeah, the guy stole your shit. Stuff. Toss him in the water. Teach him a lesson. You know, at least, like ruin his phone. Do something. He deserves it. Right. And so the whole point of this scene is for her at the end of the chase, of her being chased, to stumble onto the boat that her father chartered. And a drunk guy who's definitely not the guy who, you know, who her father chartered, at least we don't know right away. Drunk guy with a shotgun scares the teenagers off and then almost shoots her. Yeah, they're like, he's drunk again. Yeah, they know who he is. Yeah, and, And so he passes out on this top deck and falls to the main deck of the boat because he's still drunk as shit. That looked like it hurt, dude. Like I genuinely went like, oh, dude, like you're going to feel that one for weeks to come. Yeah. He was caught by like air canisters and shit. It's like, oh, what did you fall into, man? Uh-huh. So once he wakes up and is starting to sober up, we find out that he is literally the male version of her. His father disappeared 7 years ago as well, while taking somebody to an unknown island. And he's like, well, if you don't know which island it is, there's like 6,000 outside, in this area. So good luck finding it. And so she's looking through her dad's notes, and there's these little drawings at the bottom, and he's like, yeah, those are clock hands. It's like those are clock hands. Yeah, right. Those two combined with puzzles, man, like they're good. They're good. Yeah, dude. Like she fucking did her little puzzle thing in matter of seconds. Like she's probably got her doing Rubik's cubes at speed times, and then that guy over there, like just glancing over, probably does like crosswords in minutes. Mm-hmm. And so they figure out where the island is from the coordinates given by these clock hands that her dad left in the book. And so she pays him she charters him as well to take her to this island. And the two of them leave on this. I mean, it's a fairly good-sized boat. I figured you would need at least one or two more folks there, because who's driving when he has to sleep at some point? You know what I mean? That part of me was like, why is there not like another guy who like takes the other 12-hour shift? You know? Yeah, but I mean, it seemed like that they got there in like a day. You know, so it was like they left in the morning, and then it was like nighttime by the time all the shit went down. Yeah, the shit went down, and it went down hard. So yeah, while they're traveling, she solves another different kind of puzzle tube. It's not a box because there's no edges; it's round and stuff, which will come into play later. But she solves another puzzle while they're traveling, and then shit goes to shit at night. Like there's a big giant storm. They enter the worst part of the trip, and the storm literally just destroys the boat, smashes it against the rocks by the island. They actually get to the island. You can see it in the lightning storm. And then we get a couple of this is stuff that, from what I understand, is taken directly from the video game as well, like this boat. Right? In fact, I think the whole movie follows the first game fairly decently. Like there's a lot of stuff that's taken from it exactly. We're like, okay, they're just following the same plot line. So I probably should go back and play the video game now.
Yeah, the video game is really good. It's fun. It's lots of fun.
But yeah, so she escapes the boat before it completely gets decimated. She crawls up on shore. Lu Ren is the guy's name we said earlier, played by Daniel Wu. We don't know where he went. We don't know if he got off or whatever. We know he got knocked off the boat. We don't know where he is. She crawls ashore just in time to maybe see somebody and then get knocked out.
Yeah, which is like, why were they patrolling that?
Maybe they saw maybe you could see the ship. Maybe you could see the lights before it hit the rocks. Who knows? I mean, they weren't that far away by the time everything got destroyed, because she made it there pretty quick. Like they were right there at the island. So I would say, yeah, especially if they're watching for boats coming or whatever, or they know that if it's going to happen when there's a storm.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, I guess everybody go hit the ocean, because they said they did it was like shipwrecked survivors and like people who thought they were paying for a better life.
Right. Yeah. Here's your slave labor on an island. You don't know that. So she wakes up to Vogel, who is the big bad, played by Walton Goggins. And it's funny that he starts out by telling her that she hit her head, not on the coral, as opposed to like, we knocked you out when you got to shore. Because I could see him telling her that if he was going to play a good guy for a while and then turn on her. But like literally within like 30 seconds of saying that, he's like, oh yeah, I'm the guy that killed your dad. So I was like, why did you tell her she hit the coral? Why don't you tell her, yeah, we knocked you out when you got to shore?
Because there's that whole bit of him, like, being a nice guy, but then saying, like, oddly fucked up shit and going, sorry, it's been a while. I haven't been around people for, like,
which
you know what I'm saying? Like,
also,
it was kind of making him, which I think they were trying to paint him as, like, unstable. Right? Like, it's been 7 years on this island. Like, he's kind of gone stir crazy. Mm-hmm. But I almost want to say like he didn't play the crazy enough to make it like seem that way. Like he was still in the right frame of mind. It just seemed like he was just pissed and wanted to be a dick.
Well, the way he was talking, and because you don't hear anything outside the tent right away, the way he was talking would be if he was the only one on the island and his company said, you go find it. But you're not alone, dude. You have an entire security crew and like 150 slave labor people. Like you're not alone. You're not you're not talking to a volleyball.
Yeah, you're not castaway.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like you don't get that you don't get to be that much of a dick because you haven't been near people. Like you're just a dick. Like it's cool. Just own up to it, bro.
Yeah, right. Like okay, like you actively chose to play the way you did. Right there. Like, you actively chose to play those cards of, like, yeah, I'll be kind of nice, but then I'll say some real fucked up shit, and then I'll just blame it on, like, being on an island. Like, you really have no excuse for kind of being an asshole the way you are.
Right. So she finds out he has the book that her father had, because she saved some couple things in a plastic bag before getting off the boat when it wrecked. He has that from her. He knows that it's, what is her dad's name? Richard's notebook. It has the location of the tomb entrance for, I gotta get the names right, Himiko. Was she a princess? They call her Princess Himiko. Was that right? Were they calling her a princess? What was her title?
Right.
Hey, we're gonna say it. We're gonna say that because I don't know any better. I don't remember. You're dealing with old brains here. We can't help it.
Yeah, I mean, basically, like, she's some type of royalty because they were also, I think they referenced her like the Queen of Death or some shit like that too.
Right, because she had handmaidens and all kinds of shit. So yeah, she was somebody. We're gonna call her princess.
Yeah. She was definitely on the upper echelons of life.
Yeah. So we also find out. So she leaves the tent, and finds out that it's just all this slave labor, just blowing up rocks, trying to find this location, this tomb on this deserted island, or this island that has nobody on it, but the labor and the security forces, and it's heavily security. We're talking, I think there's at least a dozen security team people there. So it wasn't just a couple guys; it was a good handful of people. And they're all just and all the slave labor, like you said earlier, was wrecked fishermen and people who were like trying to pay their way to the free world, and whoever was taking them just took him to this island anyways and took that payment instead. So we find out that Vogel works for a company called Trinity. Trinity is like the bad, evil corporation, you know, that funds everything, and that we're trying to figure out who they are and what they do. Some of the containers that they're moving around has a certain symbol on it for a company. I don't remember the name of the company right off the bat, but that will come into play later on with the big reveal at the end. But so she's working slave labor. Like her, and she sees Lou Ren there too, so he survived. They captured him, and he's part of the slave labor as well.
Yeah, because they kind of run into each other and do the "don't say shit, but I'm glad you're okay" look.
Right, like okay, but don't act like we know each other that much.
Yeah,
you're good.
Yep.
So they don't work for very long before he clocks the guy in the face with a shovel, and she takes off, and so she escapes. He helps aid her escape, which is pretty. Hey, good on you, buddy. Good on you, because she gets out of there just barely. Makes it into the woods, and she gets to the chasm. So this is one of the video games one. So
first we have Walter Goggins shooting the old guy, or Walton.
Walton, right?
Yeah, shooting the old guy in front of Laura
because
and everybody because he was sick, and he just walks out, kind of looks at him, puts a bullet in him, and then is basically like, "Get back to work." So they did a good portrayal of him not giving a fuck about anything, especially after him saying, like, talking about his daughters to Laura the way he did. You know, they were pretty like you, and rubbing her face and doing all that weird shit.
Like, yeah, way to be creepy, Walton. Way to be creepy, buddy. So they help her escape, and during her, you're right. You know what? There's a lot of Fox and Hound stuff through this whole movie. So it kind of, I guess the first part of the movie is kind of on the nose when it comes to trying to explain her and her abilities.
Yeah, right. They're like, look, dude, she's really good at obstacles and running or chasing or being or fleeing, like, because let's face it, man, there are some scenes in the movie where she should be dead.
Oh, yeah. She should be dead like 4 times over in this movie.
Yeah. Okay.
So the very first one we come up on in this section is the obligatory river that's a chasm with one dead tree across it, like you've come across in every adventure game ever that you've ever played in life. Yep,
there's the solemn fallen tree to help you get across.
And boy, we thought she was gonna make it, but boy, she didn't. And
she ate shit off that tree.
She bit it hard, and then fell like 3 or 4 stories into at least a class 5 rapids, if they even make a class higher than 5.
Yeah, because those things were hauling ass, man. Like, she should have been beat by rocks so bad that there should have been nothing left of her.
And so she's in the water. She's trying to get somewhere that, when it finally gets out of the chasm and just kind of is just a rushing river, she realizes she's heading towards a waterfall. And there's this old, like, World War II plane that's kind of just perched on the edge of the waterfall. She holds on to one of the, it's not the tail rudder. I guess it was facing forward, so it could have been the tail rudder. And she couldn't like hang on, and she goes over it just in time to see the wing that's just past the waterfall, and snags that with her wrists that are she's got her hands tied together still. So she makes
so she snags it with the rope, and then displays incredible core strength to pull herself up.
Yeah, this is the equivalent of like every Marvel movie when the hero gets to have his shirt off. So they look how much I worked out. Like you could see like her back muscles just like pat 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 when she was pulling herself up. Like, so she gets on the edge of the plane. The plane's, I mean, it's 70 years old. Like it's rusted and beat to shit, and the wing starts to give. And I believe this is in the game. If I'm not mistaken, this scene is in the game. And she runs across the wing and dives to the plane, to the body of the plane as the wing gives way. And she gets in the plane, climbs in the plane, lands in the underbelly of the plane, which is where the bottom gunner would be. And so there's only there was glass there back in the day, but all there is just like a few minor, like whatever
steel frame rivets that they had the glass like in is the only thing left, and it's all rusted to hell. So you're basically, she's like on spaghetti string.
Yep, and it's popping free, and she turns to see an old ass parachute. So she snags the parachute as it gives way, and then she is able to pull the cord of the parachute during her fall, still hold on to the parachute that is already like eaten up, worn out. There's holes in it. It's barely controlling her fall. And then she, for like the third time so far, like biffs it hard through trees, landing on that parachute.
Yeah, she went through so many trees and only managed to get one branch stuck in her. and I've never had a tree stuck in me, but I've had a large splinter. And that hurt like shit. So the way she went through those trees, man, she should have just looked like a human pin cushion.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's number 2 times she should have been dead.
Yep, and she's hurt good and bad.
Yeah,
and she definitely plays it up. She's hurt good and bad. She pulls the stick out on her own, hardcore. just pulls it out, grabs it, and just goes. And so she is just trying to find her way somewhere through the trees. She goes to sleep. She finally finds a little bit of shelter during this, like, it's kind of raining or whatever. Was it raining that night, or was it already? Anyway, she's asleep and she hears a twig break because Vogel sends out one of the guys to go track her.
Yep.
And so this is like rear naked choke number 1 that she gets put on her, and she gets out of it. It's the tracker. He finds her. They have a fight scene, and she overpowers him, gets him in a rear naked choke, and then. We've watched some people die some pretty horrible ways the past few weeks on some of the movies we watched. We've had cars on heads and, white phosphorus grenades being held in their laps and shit like that. Being in a goddamn rear naked choke and then having your face in water, so when you do get a breath, it's just drowning you, sounds fucking horrifying to me.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound any kind of fun. I still think that phosphorus grenade is way worse.
Well, burning sucks, but she gets him in a rear naked, face first in the puddle, and he drowns in like 2 inches of water on top of being choked out.
Yeah, this is when Laura becomes a murderer.
Right, she's her first kill. Right, we see her first kill, and she's like, I just killed somebody,
and she handled it like nonchalantly.
Like
what I'm saying is, like, most normal people wouldn't be able to keep going.
Right.
But she handles it well, kills the dude, and then just kind of gets to the point in her head that I may have to do this again. So can I, like, what I'm saying? Like, you could see that she felt bad, but she had that, like, okay, this is what it's come to. Like it has that real survival moment. Me or them. And she makes the decision, me.
Mm-hmm. You can see her. Yeah, you can see her say, "Okay, I'm going to do this to get out of it. This is what I got to do. It's what I'm going to do." And then she sees some random creepy guy in the woods watching her that runs off when she sees him. So she chases after a creepy guy and follows him to the base of this rock wall near the beach area of the island, and he pulls the rope up as like she's like catching up, and he pulls the rope up, and she's like, I gotta climb now. Like, I just went through trees, man. Come on. So she climbs to this hidden cave at the mouth of on the side of this rock wall, and lo and behold, we see just a minute earlier that it's her dad. Like, oh, her dad's still alive. He's not dead. Vogel didn't really kill him, or however he thought he killed him, he didn't. Because Vogel still thinks he's dead, and that's what Richard says later on, that like the only way he can do what he does and lead them in wrong directions is if Vogel still thinks he's dead. But he has clearly been living, without talking to anybody else, to the point where he keeps telling himself, like, just ignore her, she'll go away. She always goes away. It's never really her. Like, he thinks she's an illusion in his mind.
He definitely has the Castaway vibe going on. Like, Vogel, you were like, dude, I could get it if you were just a dick because you were mad about not seeing your family. Like, got it. But you're trying to be like crazy, like you've been stuck on this island and you've only been by yourself. No. Old Richard over there, that guy has been stuck on an island all by himself, fucking going crazy.
Right, exactly. He is out of it. She finally convinces him, and he recovers from being that crazy really quickly, though. Almost too quickly for me, honestly.
Well, it's like his only crazy was seeing her, because you could tell he was still like lucid when it was coming to keeping them from finding Himiko and off the beat and off the path. Like, it was all like he was almost more like someone who was caught up in the moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't bother me. Like, I'm in the zone, kind of thing. And all just but way too into the zone, like right. Way too into the zone. And then he realizes like, oh shit, she really is here.
Right. And then what really snaps him out of it is when she says she didn't burn any of his shit. Oh, and by the way, I brought it with me. Oh, and by the way, Vogel has it. Sorry.
Yeah.
So he
sounds bad. It sounds bad when you put it like that.
Right. So you did nothing that my magic. I built all this time with this magic battery to keep my camcorder running for 7 years, and you just didn't do anything I told you in it. He's like, way to go. So he starts being a father to her again, scolding her and shit. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of that, man, like let's say, one of our pops kicked it and left us like a note like that, but it's just our dads. Like, we're not painting ourselves like growing up in the Tomb Raider lifestyle, right? Like, would you just burn it and be like, you know what, man, that's probably some shit I don't need to know about?
Nope.
Or would you be like, well, I got to figure out what the hell, like, I could see you getting like a PI and wanting to know all this shit and or me, if my dad gave me something like that, like, I would look at it once and decipher at that point in time if he was crazy. And if I still think he's like not crazy, that I would burn that shit, because that is definitely some stuff that I don't want to know anything about.
Yep, nope. I would so go after it. I would never burn it. I would figure out what it was and get to the bottom of it.
I'd be like, fuck, dude, that's more trouble than it's worth, man. Don't toss this shit.
I don't care if I got to rear naked choke somebody in a puddle and kill him to get to the end of it. I don't care. It's fine.
Clay goes, well, if I got to become a murderer, I guess I got to do it.
So she's like, Dad, I'll make it all better. I'll sneak into the camp and I'll get your notebook back from him, and we can go from there. Because like you said earlier, he's been misleading, Richard's been misleading Vogel the whole time he thought he was dead. So he never found where the tomb was. So he knows that they're going to find it pretty quick, to the point where Vogel has already packed up his crew and they've moved on to where he knows it's where they've found like the entrance. Now they found where the entrance is. They just need to find the entrance now. So that's when she sneaks into the camp. She grabs her bow and arrow. So she gets her bow and arrow and she starts hauling ass with a hole. Well, he fixes her hole in the side.
I was going to say, we got to make sure that everybody knows that Dad stitched her up.
Dad stitched her up and she Wolverine healed, because you got stitches, because in Hollywood, if you get stitches, you're 100%. It's like drinking a potion in a video game. You're good. Like, you're back to 100%. You're not 100%. You got a fucking stitch wound down you, and there's still a hole under there.
Yeah, right. Just because you closed it doesn't mean everything healed magically.
Right. Healed to the point where you're hanging off things here in about 3 hours. You're hanging off items and still being just fine.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. So she sneaks into the camp, quite video game-esque. It's very like, there's a guy there, he moves away, so you move to the next hiding spot, hiding. She even to the point like hides in Vogel's tent behind something while he's in there talking on the phone. We get more exposition that way. And yeah, so she's, and I did like that.
I did like that hidey hole though. Like when she just
no hesitation just goes.
Yeah, and it was also cool though because it was like someone of her size taking advantage of a scenario. Mm-hmm. Because most normal people would have been shit out of luck. Like you would have had to go back out the way you came in. Where she's like, I'm a smaller girl. Like, oh, there's a fucking 6-inch gap. What up? And just like and grabbed her bow and arrow and slid right in. And I was like. Again, I was like, God damn it, man. That's just like a ballsy move. Mm-hmm. Like unnecessary. Like you could have just took a step back out and just kind of hung tight. But you're like, no, I'm sitting in the belly of the beast. Right. I'm not leaving.
Well, to the point where like she hides outside the door, another taking advantage of her frame. When she leaves there to hide again from him, she's like right there in the side of the door, like between where the edge of one door and the edge of the tent is. I'm like, man, that's crazy. And then Lu Ren is still, how he didn't get shot for letting her escape. He's still alive, which is good because he incites another breakout where they all escape this time. Like all
that's his second riot in 2 days that he's started.
Right.
And then it like, it's like, is this just like they all look alike kind of thing? Like you couldn't fucking pick out the one guy that hit you in the head with the fucking shovel? Like you're telling me you don't pay enough attention to any of these people?
Right. Vogel is not only an asshole, he's also racist. He's like, all the Asians look alike. I can't pick I don't know who it is. Vogel, you asshole.
Right, but like I feel like that guy would have, you're right though, Loren's character would have immediately been killed. Especially after the demonstration of him just shooting the old guy because he fucking was coughing too long.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it was the guy he hit with the shovel who went after her, but he didn't go after her right away. He went after her that evening, like later on in the day. So there was time to go, oh, that's the guy that hit me with the shovel. Shoot his ass, and I'm going to go get her.
Yeah, or if anything, a better scenario would have been like him not working, but like him in like a fucking stockade, or like him being strung up because he was beat to shit as like an example, and then her having to rescue him, and then him getting the whole like
everybody together.
Oh, I was beat to shit, but you know what, man? I can still see straight. I can walk. Let's go do this.
Right. So, but that is not how it happened. He was just still working on the, hauling rocks, and he incites his second riot, which they get some weapons. It was very video game-esque how they got their weapon. Someone would drop one. They would, now I've got an AK-47. Let's go do this. It was very, there's some nice little video game elements to it. So he incites the riot. They all get out. She gets the documentation, but like during the riot, all of a sudden her dad's up where they found the entrance to the tomb. Her dad's just up there just chilling, just walking around like looking at the door in broad daylight. Why?
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. Well, there's a couple times like in her sneaking that like no one noticed, and then all of a sudden there's like I get it, you're undermanned and understaffed, but no way that guy is just going to walk right up to the entrance of that place and climb all those rocks and no one's going to notice that shit.
Well, I guess he knew where it was forever. So maybe I'll give him the credit that he knows the back way in, but why are you going there right now? Like, and not even to like do something.
Sabotage what's
you're just
going
there
on.
To look at it. It's like, what are you doing? So Vogel sees that. She sees him from different areas. They kind of all meet at the same time. She's like, Dad, why are you here? Then Vogel shows up, threatens to kill her dad if she doesn't open the door because he won't open it for him. He's like, just shoot me. I'm not opening the tomb for you. And she, because she's got her dad back, is like, yes, I'll open the tomb for you. Like, I don't.
Yeah. I finally got him back and I realized he hasn't been dead for 7 years and a secret tomb raiding mission. I'll go unlock this crazy ass cursed tomb.
Right. So she recognizes the intricate different. I only call them barrels because they're just big round, like different round cylinders, like in this wall. And she climbs between all of them, and it's kind of like one of the puzzles she did on the boat.
Yeah, that looks like one of the puzzles, and they also kind of look like those things like Eddie Murphy slid in The Golden Child, when he's like, I want the knife.
That's like 2 Eddie Murphy references in 2 podcasts in a row. I think you referenced Coming to America like last week, I think.
Yeah, dude, Eddie Murphy's classic, man.
So she gets the tomb opens, and it's just like the stairs that were there are not there anymore, and it's just like a 100-foot drop down to the bottom where everything's at. So they get their rope, and they get their cool little like winch device, which was pretty sweet, and actually looked like of all the, because in movies and TV, a lot of folks don't want to climb ropes, so they have like certain winch. Batman always has a winch device to get him where he's going, but it's always small and doesn't look like it would actually work. This large contraption actually looks like it may really exist in the world. Yeah,
like that one looked like you could look it up on like a spelunking website and find it,
because it was hefty. It was a hefty device.
That thing not only picked humans up, it moved massive rocks.
Possibly,
like it looked like it was legit. You're like, okay, you know what? That's not something you just shoot up in the sky and clip to your belt and magically get whisked away.
Right, exactly. It's no Batman shit. This is just normal everyday stuff. But yeah, so she gets down there first. They all follow, and then it's pretty much every tomb you've ever seen in any movie, really. It's booby traps and puzzles to solve, and it kind of reminded me of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? Is that where the one where they had to like kneel and roll and tuck and dodge all the stuff at the the blades and everything? Was that the Ark, or was that the one to the? It was the first one. Was it the Ark one? I don't remember.
Temple of Doom.
Was it Temple? I don't remember.
Think so. Temple of Doom is where the boulder comes at him.
Well, that's the boulder, but there's one of the Indiana Jones where he's like reading one of the books and he's like, first you have to kneel to whatever, and then and so as he's doing it, he's getting through these blades that are coming out of the floor. So if you didn't,
I don't recall.
I forget
that one.
which one, but it kind of, I was like, are we getting there? Because even one of the hints in her puzzles was like, pray to the god of whatever, and I was like, oh, is it gonna be something where everybody else that doesn't kneel is getting their head cut off? Like it's one of those things. I thought that was gonna happen, but anyway. So what? The first trap is giant spikes through the floor.
Yeah, and then that's where Dad makes the comment was that those weren't there to keep people out; they were there to keep people in.
Yeah,
which I don't know how you could determine that because it's a spiky trap.
Oh, I know why, and I just realized it because I wrote that down, but I didn't get it like you did. But the guy who stepped on the guy who triggered it was in front of them. So it got a guy behind him. Therefore, what the trap is meant to do is you trigger it, you keep running forward, and then the spikes get you.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's how that works. But then again, the next one we come to is an in, not an out. So it doesn't. That holds up for one trap. The next trap, you're walking across a floor that's all breaking apart, and you have to get it in the right. You have to get the right things in the hole.
Yeah.
So that only stands up for one trap. The other trap is definitely to keep folks out.
Okay.
So yeah,
all right, yeah, I'm with you now.
Yeah, so it doesn't really add up the second time because this one you come across a floor where you step on it and then all of a sudden pieces of the floor start kind of Goonies style. Isn't there a scene in Goonies where the floor falls away?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the floor is falling away. Everybody's hugging the sides where they can get to these prayer statues, and there's like, I guess he called them prayer. What did he call the things underneath them? Anyways, it was the whole praying thing, pray to the whatever, who brings life, or the day turns to night, or whatever. And there's these things you spin underneath each of these gods' faces, and it had a gummy bear.
Yeah, and by the way, you only spun them. You didn't have to put them in any order because they were just like slapping the shit out of them and like, oh, there you go, it spun around. There's my magic compartment.
Right. They had to make the color green. And they were throwing...
because it was like... day turns to night and
brings life.
Damn it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
By the time she got done expositioning it during the floor falling away, I didn't know what they were talking about.
Well, I want to know how they all like still got over there because there was no floor after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know either. It's okay. Movies.
Yeah, and how they made it back?
Movies. I don't know. You're right.
Movies.
She had to jump over, because then we come across the chasm of souls where they just, this is something else I wanted to bring up. These guys, there was only like 2 or 3 random red shirt guys there to die before the main characters started dying. Their backpacks were like Zelda's backpack, dude, where that shit holds everything because it holds a whole bunch of giant glow sticks to mark your path, and then it holds like tripod stands that make big lights that also are for a certain area.
I thought they just put those lights on the statues around.
Well, even then. And then it also holds a giant ladder bridge. Because they went back for the ladder bridge.
That's true.
I don't know where they shit a ladder bridge from, but they did. Because it wasn't like it was some wooden thing that was rickety that they were crossing. It was a metal thing built for crossing areas if you have to. You just kind of crawl across it. So they dropped this thing down and they make her go first. And that's when she's like, I'm 120 pounds. Like, what is me going first going to do? You guys are 3 times my weight. Like, you guys go across, make sure it's okay.
Yeah. I'm not putting any stress limits on this fucking bridge.
I'll go first because I'll be fine. But, so everybody gets across and they kind of, at this point, she goes across and then all of a sudden we're in the main tomb or we're at the base of the tomb or whatever. Like, we're already there. So they don't even show anybody else having an issue getting across. We just know that it's there for later on in the movie. So
yeah, that's how they set it up. But I'm fine with that.
Yeah, they cross by the handmaidens who have all ritually killed themselves. There's like 100 of them, like in these just shelves, like body shelves up a whole giant both sides of the wall. And they get to the main tomb, and of course, without all the warning that Richard's been telling Vogel the whole time, don't do this. This is meant to keep her here. None of these, what do they say? All these pictures show her as like happy, like nice, like not like some sort of like
because Laura points out that like all the murals around her tomb, she was like, she's not depicted as evil, like she was good, and it looked like she brought herself there on her own free will, and then that's when Laura was like, oh, she was saving the people,
right? So
you know.
so she's depicted in some of the history as being a bringer of death, and you know, anyone she's around dies type. She just leaves mountains of dead people in her wake type thing, and they all thought it was some bad thing, but it turns out that she brought herself here to get to save everybody, and so they crack open the tomb. No matter what, she's perfectly preserved because there's probably been no, you know, however mummification and oxygen and, you know, whatever.
Yeah, because that's the whole they did that thing too, because all of a sudden her face like goes scary real quick, and that's really like what her being oxidized or some shit like that. And so yeah, apparently she was in an airtight tomb.
Yeah. And so an airtight tomb that has things built into them. So she's still like, it got airtight once it was there. It was built there to be airtight, because it wasn't like you could move that tomb because of all the gears underneath of it.
Yeah, right. I like how there was that booby trap to shoot the body up for some reason.
Well, I think it was meant to touch people touching it. So we find out they pop the top. The two guys go to remove her, and then the body sits up real fast and touches both the guys touch the body, and then all of a sudden the dudes like start just deteriorating. Whatever touched her just starts rotting away to the point where they become like zombies almost.
Yeah, they become like very aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And like almost like 28 days later kind of thing, like it kicked in and it was like, okay, I'm now a mindless.
The rage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so this is like during this gunfight shootout, you know, I think they're still talking to each other about it being, or that they don't have the gunfight fight yet. They're like, oh, it's a virus. She was a carrier. And that's why she's not depicted as being mean in any of these pictures. She's saving everybody she would touch would die. So,
yeah, she's just the most unfortunate human being in the world.
Right. So and then Vogel's like, I don't give a shit. I just need a piece of her. So he goes to cut off a finger with his handy dandy Gerber, you know, Gerber pliers. He gets it, puts it in a bag, puts it in his pocket. Like, I would have thrown the Gerber, like you would have seen me like, and throw the Gerber, I can't clean this thing enough. But he does, like, I didn't see him.
Yeah, when I got back to the chasm of lost souls or whatever the hell it was, I'd have dropped that motherfucker down there. I'd have been like, nope, you're staying here, brother.
Yep. And
not gonna go home and whip out the old handy dandy Leatherman that I always carry and then start fucking rotting away at the fingers.
Right. So at that point, he takes the finger, puts it in a bag, puts it in his breast pocket of his shirt, and Laura and her dad give a nod to each other and start to attack everybody who's left. Her dad fends off one of the guys that was still turning, and then there's a shootout between Vogel and her dad and another security guy. She runs off. The security guy follows her. She hides in one of the handmaiden holes, and he finds her, drags her through it. She runs off, sets off a foot trap that proceeds to, like, they were like rolling
spiked pins,
pins of death. It just came down like at an angle, and she kept dodging them, and then the dude takes it in the chest. She comes back. Vogel has run off. He's run to get out. She comes back to see her dad. We find out her dad was touched by the guy, one of the guys who were infected, so he's dying. They do their whole kissy finger, you know, I love you, you're, you know, the best dad ever, see you later, you're dead, you know. He's like, I'll blow up the tomb. So he's got some explosives from the magic sack that holds everything. So she takes off after Vogel. Her dad starts planting explosives at the tomb where the body is. Vogel is working his way across the chasm, and she dives to the you know, you see it in the trailer. I think she dives to the middle of the thing, and they have this fight on the thing, and they fall back to the side they were running from, not the side to get out. She pulls the finger. Oh, she kicks the he comes back, and she kicks the thing into she kicks it into the chasm. She's like, no one's leaving here. She's ready to die too, honestly.
Yeah. She was like, if I gotta sacrifice myself to keep this from spreading to Trinity, then so be it. And she kicks that ladder in like a boss.
Yep.
And then
she gets put another.
I like how she jumped to the side of the ladder and like could still like whip and pick herself up to stay in front of Vogel. Like you don't think he would have just kind of like stiff armed her off to the side, and just been like, no, you stay down there as I walk by, like just kind of like pinned her head down.
Well, shit, any ladder I've ever, ladders like that, I was expecting it to like, I think she was trying to flip him off the ladder because of how he.
Yeah, that's what I thought, dude. I was like, damn, man, that is a like. Holy shit. Like, so I think you're right. I think you're right. That's what she was really trying to do, and the ladder just didn't flip.
Mm-hmm. And then so they have a boss fight, and she gets put in a headlock, and she flips him out of it this time. She does another good counter for a rear naked choke, is just a hip toss. So she hip tosses him out of it, snags the finger out of his pocket, shoves it in his mouth, and punches him in the an uppercut, and then he bites down on the finger. And it starts to spread in his face, and she kicks him into the chasm. Bye-bye, Vogel.
Yep.
Peaced out.
That's a fucked up way to go, man.
That's a real bad way to go. So she has her climbing axe thing. What do you call that tool?
Pickaxe? No, that's not a
pickaxe.
It's
not really a pickaxe, but it's for climbing. But everybody knows when you say a rock climbing pickaxe, y'all know what we're talking about. Not really either. I don't know.
But aren't they called I thought like those things were just called like icicles or something. No, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called. Oh well, it doesn't matter. Anyways, that's what she uses. The chasm. Her dad sets off the explosion during their fight. During the boss fight, the explosion happens, and everything starts to crumble, of course. And so she has to do this giant leap across the chasm, and she catches the other side just barely with this pickaxe thing, and pulls herself up and just hauls tail out of there. And clears the chasm, but all the rocks have fallen. Like she's coming up, she's on the winch, she's on her way up, and then all the stuff from the mountain is falling, and it caves in the hole that she's in and blocks it off. And at this point, outside, Lou Ren is like, Laura, oh no, and then just goes up and like starts pulling away rocks. Like, dude. Until I saw the rope still there, I was like, what do you think you're doing, buddy? Like, who do you think she's still, like, anybody?
Yeah, especially with his, like, one arm, because he's all fucking injured.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what rocks are you really moving with one arm up there, buddy? Like, those are some big-ass stones.
And do you really think she's alive? Like, a part of me would be like, there's nothing, like, it was a giant chasm. How is she still there? But the rope is still there. So she was able to get up to it with the winch and climb through, and she's all safe. So she escapes the tomb. And Vogel has already called for his extract because he's found what he needs to find. And a chopper lands from Trinity, and then Lou Ren and his crew like take him. They're like, "You're taking us home," but these guys are in this like secret bad guy group. I would just expect them to just ditch the plane into the goddamn ocean or the chopper. Like, no, we're not gonna go easily. We're just gonna, some of those guys are pretty hardcore fanatical.
Yeah, right. Like okay, let's just say they did that. So then they killed the two pilots, and now out of all those ship captains, there's a helicopter pilot.
That would have been as unbelievable as like the big. Well, I guess the big bad guy company.
I mean, Laura may know how to fly one.
Yeah, you're right. There'd be no way off the island unless they just drove them. I just felt it was a little bit, if you had this big bad company, and it's, you never know if this is the kind of company where everybody's a fanatical type thing, and so those guys would be, I guess it's not. They're like, okay, we're told by our company to go, they're subcontractors, like, we're supposed to go pick up this guy from this island, which is supposedly unfindable, which is kind of funny as well, but I guess they knew he was there.
Yeah.
They can get there by chopper.
I guess they just followed the satellite coordinates from his phone.
Yeah, and so they went and got him, or went to get him, and they ended up taking home, 24
150 people.
I guess there weren't that many left at the end.
That's true.
There were a lot who got in the way of bullets during the initial the second riot. There were a lot that got in the way of bullets of the two main characters. So she goes home, finished up the movie. She signs the papers because she definitely knows her dad's dead now. As she's going through, and she's there with the same two people, the lawyer and the number two, they hand her the ledger that shows all the companies that the Croft Industries holds. Like, so Croft Company, pretty much, they go buy other companies and then profit off of those companies' profits. You know what I'm saying? That's what that company does. So they had this giant book of all these companies that they owned, and then as she's looking through, like, she's like, well, first she goes, so-and-so lady, you're going to be in charge of the day-to-day because I'm an adventurer. I got shit to do. Like, I got time to do business deals and stuff in board meetings. So you can take care of the day-to-day. The lady seems happy with that. She leaves. She gets on the elevator, and Laura's looking through the ledger and sees the name of the company that was on the side of the boxes that Vogel had at his camp. And so they know that the Croft Industries owns the people who Trinity is based off of.
Yep.
And that's the big reveal. And now we know there's going to be a new movie. So it was a good movie, though. It was entertaining. I was entertained in my 2 hours there.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't disappointed with going to see the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like, I don't think you'd be mad if you went and saw it in the theaters. Could you wait for it to come out? Sure. No problem. But if you go in knowing that you're going to see kind of a little bit of storytelling, backstory, and you're going to get some pretty decent adventure, that definitely sets up the next movie of pretty much just being a pure, maybe 5 minutes of how we got started, and then the rest of it will be us going through our harrowing escapades. Like,
yeah, if I had one,
it's a good setup movie, I feel like.
Exactly. If I had one nitpick about this movie, we've had a few. I mean, we're not going to just completely glaze over the issues, but if I had one nitpick, I would say that there's not enough tomb raiding, and there's not enough puzzling, and there's not enough fighting. Like, if you're going to give me an action fighting movie, then do that. If you're going to give me like a adventure puzzle solving movie, do that. I felt like they did a little bit of each, but not enough of either.
Yeah, and that's the problem you'll run into with this movie, because they did the whole backstory piece of it, like, where I think they really didn't need to, because everybody knows the story of Tomb Raider.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot less. Yeah, we all know that Batman's parents died in an alley by being shot by a guy who's mugging him. I don't need to see that every time you reboot Batman. Yeah, we know.
I mean, you're going to, because you have to know. It's like one of the most intricate parts of his life, but neither here nor there. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we all know Lara Croft. She's got a rich dad who's missing. You could pretty much just tell me that, and I'd be good to go.
Yeah, well, I mean, you don't even need, like, and I know they use this to make it as a reason for tomb raiding, but, like, you could just make it because she was just fucking into it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's just an adventurer. You don't need to have her dad die or go missing or any of that. Like, you know, but that, like I said, I think it set it up for the second film. Yeah. I think the second film is going to be one of those movies where, if done right, it can be like where you go, number 2 is my favorite.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know, like, it'll definitely be the better of the films.
Right, like Back to the Future 2.
Yeah.
I look forward. I sincerely look forward to the second movie. I think Alicia Vikander did a fantastic job as Lara Croft. She was completely believable. She handled the character well. She is a fantastic actress and pretty badass at the stunts that she did do, because she did a lot of her own stunts, by the way. She didn't do all of them.
Oh, that's cool.
But she did a lot of her own stunts. So good for her.
You know, outside of the normal action adventure stuff where you go like, they should be dead, they didn't put her in any situations really either that weren't believable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, all right, yeah, she could be skilled. I could see her get out of that. Or, you know, like, she didn't pick up a Shaquille O'Neal and like knock him out with a punch or anything like that. You know, there was nothing bonkers like that in the movie.
Right.
Which I liked, you know, like they used her size and her speed and everything well in the film.
It was a very good adaptation of a video game, which can't always be said.
Yeah, but like I don't even think you really need to even compare the two anymore. Like, I'm saying Tomb Raider is its own franchise. Like, Tomb Raider movies now will always be rebooted.
Right. It doesn't, and because it started as a video game, shouldn't matter.
Yeah. Right. Like, at this point now, like, the nod to the video game is the movies being fucking made.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Like, I don't need, and unless they make a new Tomb Raider game that ends up getting like 9 out of 10s and has like some kind of crazy story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they make another Tomb Raider video game, that second movie doesn't need to revolve around that video game at all.
Right.
It doesn't need to follow the same story. It doesn't need to follow anything. Like, this could be a completely separate entity on its own.
Cool. So real quick, final score. What you going to give it out of 100, man?
85.
85. Nice. I'm going to give it a 75. I liked it. It's a good movie. I will probably watch it again when I see it. I will stop flipping through the channels if I see it pop up on TV on pay channel or whatever. It's a good movie.
I give it an 85 based solely because I think the second one's going to be good.
Oh, it's like
I think it's going to be way more Indiana Jones-esque. Like, we're going to see some really good puzzles and we're going to see like her kick ass. But again, it won't, like, I don't think you're ever going to get like a Tomb Raider Lara Croft who's going to like beat the snot out of people. Mm-hmm. Like, she's always going to outwit them and she's always going to shoot them now that she's got her guns.
Right. Yeah. At the very end, we didn't mention anything of, what's that actor's name? The guy from Hot Fuzz. It's not Simon Pegg. It's the other one. Those two that always acted in Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead.
I know. I cannot remember his name.
He runs a pawn shop where she originally gets her money to go to Hong Kong, and then coming back at the end of the movie, she goes back to buy it. Instead of buying it back from him, she wants her HKs that she has from the original game, and it's a nice nod, like you said, to the video game. But now we know she's got her guns and she's ready to rock and roll.
Yep.
So yeah, that's how it ends up. So that's the Two Dads review of Tomb Raider, and go see it, guys. And we want to thank everybody who's listened to this point. We always like the people who make it to the end the best. Don't tell the people who stopped in the middle. Don't tell them. And hey, if you're at AwesomeCon and you follow us on Twitter and you know what our faces look like, come say hi. We'll be walking around, going whatever panel looks cool there. And if you're there, tweet at us. Maybe we can find you, say hi. So we'll see you guys next week for our review of Pacific Rim, or later this week actually, because it's going to be Monday here pretty soon. The next week's going to happen. So Pacific Rim's already hit theaters and it's getting some pretty good reviews. So we're excited about seeing it.
Yeah, dude, anything with giant monsters and giant robots I'm into.
Yeah, I can't complain. So we will catch you guys on the next podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you then.
All right, see you guys.